So we're trying to decide where to go on vacation this summer. We're going to be going in early June. So I know most places are going to be hot in June. Does anyone know of any places that have good weather in June? We had really wanted to take a trip in April to Sedona, Arizona, which is absolutely breathtaking. That is the Red Rocks. And they have all like the rock formations, which I'm sure it's just like something to see. Everyone says like, you know, the pictures don't do it justice, just like the Colorado mountains. I would imagine it's something like that. And it's just something that we've never seen before. So I was interested in going, but the summer times apparently are too hot to be able to enjoy like the hiking and stuff around there. So I think we're gonna opt out of Sedona this year and try to go when the weather is nicer. I don't mind bundling up in the winter, but sometimes the heat in the summertime is just unmanageable, especially around where we live. So I don't know if anyone has any ideas, but please let me know. I know Colorado has good weather in the summertime. I've always wanted to check it out and see what it looks like in the summer. I've only really been there in the winter. So if you have any good ideas, let me know about a good place where we won't get scorched in June. And then, you know, I'm saying like just in the United States, but I'm open to traveling outside of the country as well. Everyone always complains about the heat in the summertime, but where I live, the heat is about as bad as it gets. So where are you guys from, and where are you traveling this summer? Because I'm trying to get some ideas on places to go in early June, which will be pretty hot. We're not real big beach people. Where do you guys go in the summertime? What's been your favorite summer vacay? Something that you absolutely have to see. Like I said, Sedona, Arizona will be too hot in the summertime because it's in the desert naturally. So we're gonna skip out in Sedona this year, but we're trying to find somewhere cool to go in the summertime that's not too hot. Where are you guys from? What's the best place to travel in your state or your country? A lot of people where I'm from, the hot place to go in the summertime is Destin, Florida, which is beautiful. I've just been so many times. And has anyone ever been to the beach like in the off season, the non-summer months? Because it's so much more pleasant and tolerable. We went one year in April and it was a little bit cooler than you would expect, but I'd much rather be cool on the beach than like baking in the sun in 90-degree temperatures. I understand that most people go to the beach in the summertime because the kids are off of school. But if you don't have kids, or you're taking a vacation without the kids, going outside of the traditional months of going to Florida, the temperatures are much milder and pleasant. And then I don't know if you guys know, but like a little hidden gem is Arkansas. Arkansas is absolutely breathtaking. The water is so clean. They have a lot of hot springs. They even have a man-made lake that we rented a houseboat on. It was like the coolest friends trip ever. let's see how many of us. It was approximately, give or take, 10 people, and we rented a houseboat. The first year, they let us drive the houseboat. We were just at the dock and they were like, all right, you guys have fun. And we didn't have a whole lot of driving experience, especially with a big boat like that. So that was interesting. We pretty much found a safe spot for the boat, luckily, and we just left it there the rest of the time because we were just scared to move it around at that point. All the boys almost killed themselves trying to get the boat docked and into a safe place. But then the second year that we were in Arkansas, we rented a houseboat with a different company, and the people that owned the houseboat, it was so cool. They got all of our luggage out of the vehicles for us, which was not our first experience, and it was kind of a nightmare lugging all the stuff because you bring a lot of stuff because you're on a boat naturally. So once we got to the dock, they loaded up the boat with all of our stuff, and they drove us out to certain spots that they recommended. And if we wanted the boat moved, all we had to do was call them and they would come out and move the boat for us. It was one of the best vacations ever. So don't let Arkansas fly under the radar for vacation spots. Arkansas, like I said, is absolutely beautiful if you're in the right area, of course. The man-made lake, you can see your feet in the water below you, which is awesome. You can rent jet skis out there. We actually had a little boat, which was nice, so we can get on the little like fishing boat and move around versus being on the big party barge, kinda, I guess you would say. And then they had 5 or 6 bedrooms on the boat, and then like the living area, it was all glass so you could see through, which is really, really cool. And then on the top deck, they had a hot tub, and they even had a slide that you could slide down into the water from. So that was pretty cool, little feature on the boat. And it was actually pretty affordable. You're not gonna spend any money because you're gonna be on a boat the whole time. They can, like say if you forgot to bring a certain thing, they will honor request and go and get it for you, you know, for a small fee. But for the most part, you bring all the food that you need. There's no souvenirs that you can buy. So the room and board on the boat will be a little pricey, but for the savings that you get from all of the activities being on the boat and being free, really kind of balances it out. But they are different companies. Like I said, the first year it wasn't quite as smooth as the second year. We had to haul all of our stuff onto the boat. It was a long boat ramp we had to go down. It was hot. So by the time we got on the boat, we were tired and flustered, and then the owners were like, all right, just go, you guys are ready to go. So I mean, we were kind of like a lost puppy almost. But then the second year, the boat company that we rented through was much more accommodating and just more hospitality focused. Like, how can we make this good for them? So they loaded up all of our stuff while we had our feet kicked up, which was cool because you are paying good money, you know. It's like, get those kids to work, get them, you know, to unload our luggage. So that was nice. And then, like I said, they drove us out to some of the better spots on the lake. So that was really cool. The second experience was much more pleasant, and like I said, just more hospitality involved, which was very nice. So just make sure that you read the reviews if you are looking to rent. It's a houseboat, I'm sorry, I said party barge earlier. But if you're looking to rent a houseboat in Arkansas, that's a very fun, unique trip. It's not, you know, something that we've done before for the most part. But make sure whoever you invite with you on the trip the group that you really like these people, because you're in very close quarters and there's really nowhere to run. There might be places to swim, but there's really nowhere to run. So make sure you're with like a good core group of people where everyone gets along and there's not, you know, any drama. But Arkansas is definitely an underrated vacation jewel. So that's my advice to you guys if you're looking for something fun to do. But like I said, we don't really know where we're going to go this year. So that's kind of why I popped on here to get recommendations if you guys have any for summertime vacations around where you live, or good experiences that you guys have had, like ours with Arkansas. Like I said, I wanted to share that with you guys because it's something that's affordable and fun, and it's something just people don't always think about, you know. I've been 3 times. That's how fun it is. The first time I went with a ex-boyfriend's family, and that was a little uncomfortable because I was just getting to know everyone, and like I said, we were in really close quarters, but it was also a good bonding experience. So funny. So we rented jet skis the first year when I went with my ex's family, and his sister wanted to ride on the jet ski. So I was like, oh yeah, I know how to drive, like hop on. And they're all watching from the boat while we're jet skiing. And I thought I would be cool and like show off and do some turns and stuff on the jet ski. Well, she was having fun because I was asking her, I was like, are you good? Are you good? And she was like, yeah. Well, when we got back to the boat, they were like, oh my God, what were you doing? Like, you're so irresponsible. And I was like, oh my God. I was just trying to show off, and I got myself in some trouble. So that's a really cool part, is that you can rent jet skis out there. We rented like 4 or 5 last time, and it was a ball. Like I said, the water's real clean. It's not going to be any murky, muddy water. You can literally see your feet. So it's clearer than a lot of the beach water that we go to. But if you have any ideas, hey, how's it going? Let me know your favorite vacation spot, because we're really open to any ideas. We don't have anything set in stone. I'm a crazy research person. Like, if I buy anything over, say, $100, I'm doing my due diligence. I'm looking up the reviews. I'm looking at every YouTube video available. And I did all my research for Sedona this year, Sedona, Arizona, because that's where we were planning on going. And it just didn't work out. So I used all of my brain power and put it in Sedona, and now we're not even going. But I have all that information stored for next year if we decide to go then. But I hate to like go do a deep dive into a new trip, but that's what's gonna have to happen for me to figure out where we're gonna go. So we're not against anywhere that's hot. You know, it is the summertime naturally, so pretty much everywhere will be hot. But we're just trying to find something unique and fun and something exciting. Even like maybe going to like some of the bigger cities. I've never been to Chicago. I don't know if anyone has. I'm just worried about the big cities because they're so dangerous now. They're almost not, worth the trouble to travel to. But even like outside of the country, like what's a good beach island? We went to Turks and Caicos last year, and that was like awesome. It's actually not very far travel from the US, depending where you're at. It's on like the outside of Florida. So it's in like the Caribbean area. I don't think it's considered a Caribbean island. Don't hold me to that, but I'm not certain. But we had a really good time in Turks and Caicos, and it seemed to be really safe from what we saw. We did get lost when we got there. If you don't turn on your data or roaming, we had no internet. So we're flying into a foreign country, and they did give us turn directions when we booked the Airbnb, which we didn't take to very well. So we had no internet access. So just so you know, if you do travel to Turks and Caicos, turn on your internet before, or your roaming before you leave the airport, so you will have internet to use your GPS. So we did ride around Turks and Caicos for a little while when we got there, because we didn't have internet. So it was like the old-fashioned way. We just had to figure it out. And then whatever road they told us to turn on, like, there was roundabouts everywhere, and they all had that road on it. So it was really, really confusing, but we ended up making it okay. And Turks and Caicos was really, really clean. There was no like begging or anything that seemed like sketchy where we didn't feel safe. So I would highly recommend Turks and Caicos if you're looking for a unique beach stay. And then, you guys, like, I'm not kidding, we booked with TC Villas for Turks and Caicos. We literally had a private beach. Like, the beach was all ours almost every day. It wasn't a literal private beach, but it was so private that you can consider it a private beach. We stayed on Turtle Cove, which has really good snorkeling. So we did bring snorkels and flippers so we could explore that, but that was one of the best snorkeling experiences that we ever had. The reef out there is beautiful and large and full of life. So Turks and Caicos, I know a lot of people don't think about that place to travel, but it's not too far of a travel, and I don't travel very well, and I really didn't feel like battered and abused by the time I got there. So that's a big, big plus for a lot of people. And literally the most beautiful turquoise water and very little foot traffic on the beach, which is unheard of. I don't know how this place doesn't, I guess it's just not overpopulated, because like just the flow, there was no traffic, the people flow was good, there wasn't like long lines to wait. It's kind of a little hidden treasure in my mind. So do a little research on Turks and Caicos if you're looking for a unique beach to travel to. If you're looking for something that's romantic or something that's quiet to bring the kids, that would be a good place for Turks and Caicos. The beach that we stayed at was a little rocky, if that made sense. So you did need like swim shoes, but that's no big deal for us. But if you do bring kids, that's something to consider. That the beach, and depending what beach you're on too, because there's also just white sandy beaches that are easy entry. Ours wasn't so much because we were on the coral reef, but the snorkeling was unmatched. There were a lot of people just coming to our little private beach just to like follow the canal down with the snorkeling, because it was so good. So that's my little vacation advice for you guys. Arkansas is a good spot if you're looking for a nice, relaxing, clean vacation, or Turks and Caicos. So I gave you guys two options, one in the US and one outside of the US. For Turks and Caicos, you will have to have a passport if you're traveling from the US. And even like customs and everything was just really smooth for Turks and Caicos. We traveled to Jamaica. We actually got married in Jamaica, and that was a little bit rougher travel. there was definitely some areas in Jamaica that if you're not, you know, seasoned, you might feel uncomfortable in. And then it was much more highly populated than Turks and Caicos. Turks and Caicos, like total island time, everybody's like chill. But out of the two, we went to Jamaica, but we didn't stay in Montego Bay. We stayed on the west end of the island. The little boutique hotel that we stayed at was called the Rock House. And the rooms, you guys, they're little like huts kind of. So they're all separate besides one building on the property. But the rooms are like $300, $400 last time I checked, which you can't beat that. If you're ever traveling, like, don't stay at the Sandals resorts or places like that, because you're going to be in Jamaica, but you're going to be paying American prices. So what's the fun of traveling to a country that's more affordable if you're just going to be stuck in America's toxic money grab? So the place that we did stay was very affordable. Like I said, I think it was $340 a night, which is really unmatched. The food was really well priced. And then the place that we stayed, it was called the Rock House. I highly recommend, but it's a small boutique wellness resort. So they did like sound baths. They had a really good spa on premise. They had yoga. I'm trying to think what else. They even sold magic mushrooms out there, which was like crazy to see. But they're all about wellness, and the restaurants at the hotel are farm to table, so everything is fresh from on site, which is nice, and you could taste it for sure. And when they would run out, you know, which is something admirable versus, like I said, America's money squeeze. They'll make it happen in America, you know. Or Jamaica, they were just more low-key, chill, very kind and humble people. We really enjoyed our stay at the Rock House in Jamaica. It is about a 2.5 hour, don't hold me to that exact time, drive from the airport, but it's worth it. They had a lot of like rock cliffs and like edges, little like caves. It was absolutely breathtaking. And because it is a locally owned boutique hotel, the prices are much more reasonable. Like I said, don't stay at these big resorts because it is just a money grab. We were looking at Sandals, and this is like, you know, a nothing special room. It was all inclusive with the food and the drinks, I believe, but it was $1,200 a night, the rooms. It's like, okay, I wasn't born yesterday. That's very high. I know the food is included, but I'm not going to eat that much food in a day. I'd rather pay for my own food and my own drinks than be getting overcharged for a nightly rate. So if you're ever traveling, like even in Turks and Caicos, everything was cheaper on Airbnb because they're privately owned versus the hotels. The hotels were very overpriced, I found. We had our own private villa. I do have a video on Turks and Caicos under my travel playlist. But we had our own private villa, 2 stories, had a private pool, and I think it was around $300 a night. It was through TC Villas is who we rented through. The hospitality could have used some improvement, but for the most part, we had a great experience renting through them. Everything was in good working condition, and the view was spectacular. And pretty much the private beach that we had was unmatched. I've never had an experience like that in my life. We did a time lapse while we were watching the sunset, just having like, you know, a little chat on the beach. And literally no one passed in front of my time lapse for an hour or two. So just to kind of put it into perspective how quiet it is. So I would recommend the Rock House as well in Jamaica. You do have to have a little backbone to travel in Jamaica, because some people can be a little aggressive and some areas can be a little rough, but that really isn't an issue for us, but it's just something that you should be aware of if you do decide to travel there. So like I said, that's what we're trying to figure out, where our next little adventure is going to be this summer for vacation. So any ideas are welcome. Is there any little hidden treasures, like I told y'all with Arkansas, that you guys know of? We've recently been on like a cave kick. I'm like curious to see where you can find caves. We did find one in Houston, Alabama, and that was like undiscovered jewel. I have a video on the cave as well, and that's a really cool find. They had 2 waterfalls on the premise, like right around the cave. It was just a little, I say hike, just a little walk really, to the 2 waterfalls on the property. And then you had this huge area of cave that was kind of like a little outdoor seating area. They don't really have a name for this place, but it was like the ultimate man cave. Okay, so there's like a huge outdoor area, and then they had like a little camp. Very nice kitchen, living room, everything that you need. And then they also had a secondary building that was called the Lion's Den, and there was a little like crack where the cave met the ceiling, so I was like, sleep in here if you dare. Like, it was the coolest stay. It was in the middle of absolute nowhere, Houston, Alabama. If anyone has ever heard of that, probably not, but this cave was like the best Airbnb that we've stayed in ever. Like, the uniqueness, it was, they even had like a water trough that was running naturally from the cave. It was like a little, it looked like a hot tub, but it was really cold. But that place would be so cool to bring the kids, or if you're looking for like a romantic getaway, it would suffice for either one. Like I said, the cave doesn't have like a specific name that you can look it up by, but if you go on Airbnb and look up Houston, Alabama cave, you'll be able to pull it up. And that is really like a little hidden treasure. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing where we've traveled, I'm usually pretty creative with our travels, so people find where we go and what we do interesting. But I do have a playlist on like unique stays, I think is the name of my playlist, and it shows the cave in Alabama. I have our trip in Turks and Caicos, so you can see our villa if you're interested in maybe traveling there. I have, like I said, quite a few little unique stays. If that's something you're into, go check us out. And always like and subscribe so you can see where our adventure takes us this summer. But yeah, any advice or just little information about cool places to go, you guys let me know. I am totally open to any ideas. We don't mind driving or flying. Whatever it takes, if the spot is cool enough, we will make it happen. But so yeah, that's pretty much my little secrets that I have for y'all. Turks and Caicos, TC Villas, the cave in Houston, Alabama that you can find on Airbnb. And then the houseboats, I wish I knew which houseboat rental company was so kind to us in Arkansas. But just look up Houseboat Rentals Arkansas, and you'll be able to kind of find what companies offer the houseboats and read the reviews so you can kind of weed out which ones will be best for you. But yeah, so that's why I wanted to get on here, just to kind of talk to you guys about what your favorite trips were, where y'all like to travel, especially in the summertime when it's hot. I'm trying to think if there's any other places I forgot to tell you guys about. Oh, and I also have a video on this tree house in Oklahoma, in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the town. It's a up-and-coming tourist city. So if you have not been to Broken Bow, Oklahoma, I recommend that you go now, because it is developing, it's up and coming, so it's still affordable. I always like to hop on like good stays when they're new, because they're only going to go up in price from there. So we just have to be realistic about that. But Broken Bow is a cool area to travel to. We found an Airbnb that was a tree house. It was almost a brand new property, so I knew it would be the cheapest that it would ever be. It was still pretty expensive, don't get me wrong, but it's called Treetopia Treehouse, and it was the most whimsical Airbnb we've ever stayed at. It was a tree house, and it was built up like in a valley. So the tree house is elevated. There's a drawbridge to get there to the tree house, and this was probably one of the best decorated places. It was just very thoughtful and intentional. But as you're crossing the drawbridge to get to the treehouse, to your right, there will be a man-made waterfall, which was something to see. You can turn it on and off, which was really cool. And then the bottom area had a bunch of like swings and just like places that you can hang out and chill, like a little fire pit. But the way that you got down was not through stairs. You had to take a slide to get down to the bottom part of the treehouse. So that was really interesting and unique. Brings back the child in you for sure. And then, like I said, you get to the bottom, and there's like a pendant swing that you can sit down and enjoy a book in, or have a glass of wine, or just, you know, have a little chat with your bestie or your husband. So that's a really cool place to check out too. It's called Treetopia Treehouse in Broken Bow. But that was a really cool stay as well. And they're very hospitable and nice. And it's a cool area. You can find some places that are cheaper too. You can get like a big old mansion out there for a pretty reasonable price. I've noticed that they've gone up this year. So just something to think about. You want to go now because the prices are only going to go up. There's a lot of hiking out there, and it's just a really cool up and coming place. So all the shops are like brand new, and I'm interested to see where it goes. You know, it looked like a little town with not a whole lot going on, but it was beautiful. And now with Airbnb, they have the option to rent out their vacation houses, which is cool. So if you're interested in any unique travels, definitely subscribe to my channel, because I get all of the rave about the places that I do pick. I'm like the type of person, like, I have to see everything. Like, when I go on Airbnb, I'm going to pretty much be familiar with the whole city, because I want to know all of my options, and I'll do all that hard work for you. So I'll find the unique stay, and then you can just go and book it without all the hard work. All right, well, I'll catch you guys next time. I hope y'all have